So any questions, guys? Any questions, any doubts in the last class?
Sir, I'm not able to connect to that Windows login, sir. After I created users now.
Not able to connect means what? What error you are getting? Yesterday we discussed how to connect using Windows login. Have you tried in that way?
Okay, sir. Sorry, sir. Actually, I didn't see yesterday's video.
Okay.
Due to some emergency, I went outside.
Okay. Okay. Then please go through the video
after
and check how to connect. Okay. So how to connect to a Windows login, right? How to connect as a Windows login? We cannot change this username, right? For Windows login, Windows authentication, we cannot change this username. So how can we
Yes, sir.
change this username?
We can.
There are two ways, guys. Yesterday we discussed two ways. How Madhavi got her name here?
Due to default instance.
No,
in the Windows login.
Named instance.
Sir, Windows login in the Madhavi.919.
Right. So Madhavi
Yes.
logged into the machine using Madhavi.919. That's why when Madhavi opens, she got her name. That means Madhavi logged in with Madhavi.919 to the machine. When Madhavi opens the SSMS, Madhavi will get Madhavi.919, the username. Okay. So in the same way, if any Windows login wants to log in what way he can log in? There are two ways. Yesterday we discussed those two ways.
Of course.
Yes, yes. First one is
Shift
right
and
click
hold, we
on
can- yeah,
shift
yeah,
and
can
hold can use run as a different user.
Very good.
So
And then you can
Right.
Windows level username and password.
Correct. Okay. So there are two ways. Either Ankam has to log off from the machine and he has to log in as particular username. If Ankam created some Suresh or Ramesh, he has to log off from the machine. He has to log into the machine with Suresh or Ramesh. Then once he open the SSMS, then he is able to see Suresh or Ramesh here. Means you have to log in as that particular person. That is one way. Second way is you have to open management studio with run as different user. Okay, how can we get with run as different user? Right click, again
and open.
hold your shift button, keep on holding your shift button and then right click.
Right.
Then you will get a run as different user. Sometimes you don't see this run as different user option. In that case, select open file location. There you can see management studio again, then hold plus right click, shift, like just hold your shift button plus right click, then you can see run as different user. Okay, in case if you're unable to see this run as different user on taskbar or management studio, open the file location and open the management studio with run as different user. You can open it by just pressing, keep on holding your shift button and right click will give you that option run as different user, guys. Okay, so in that way you will get the Windows login name. Otherwise, if you simply if you create Windows login and if you change the authentication from Windows to SQL, I'll give the login name here, I'll change the login name here, it won't work. Okay, that is SQL login. So SQL login, if you give SQL login means you have to connect as a SQL authentication. If you give Windows login means you have to connect as a Windows authentication only. Okay, can I create a Windows login and SQL login for the same person?
Yes, sir.
Is it possible, guys? Can I create a Windows login and SQL login for the same person? Tell me, guys.
Same
Yes or
person
no?
means
Yes, sir.
Same
Yes,
person
sir.
means same name.
Yes, with
Yes,
same
same
name. Yeah, with same name.
Yes, yes.
With
We
same
can
name.
create it.
Yes, sir.
Sir,
We
we can
created
create.
yesterday.
Yes, we have already created. So we can create it with the same name. I can create Windows login. I can create a SQL login as well, right? So clear.
Yes.
How many of you completed the assignment? Yesterday's assignment, I got only 3 or 4 responses. Please raise your hands. Please raise your hands. Those who completed the yesterday's assignment, 5 questions, right? I gave.
I raised your hand, sir.
Okay.
Sir, one doubt, sir.
Yes, please.
Sir, SQL Server లో డేటాబేస్ లెవెల్లో యూజర్ క్రియేట్ అవుతాడు.
Correct.
అతను మనం వర్క్ చేసేటప్పుడు DBO ఎందుకు సార్?
I'll tell you. Okay. Why DBO? I'll tell you. Very good question. Okay. See, whatever we discussed yesterday, okay, whatever we discussed yesterday, right? A user should be there, then only the particular person, the login is able to log into the SQL server, right? That's what we discussed, right, yesterday. The same concept follows, but for sysadmins. If Ankam is a sysadmin, okay, if Raghu is a sysadmin, again it won't create any user for Ankam or Raghu. Then how, sir, it is breaking the basic rule, primary rule that a user should be there, right? So it is breaking, right? It will take help of that DBO user, default user. Okay, so this DBO users, if you expand the database, you can see, right? You can see 4 users, right? Any database, if you go to any database, if you go to the security of the database, if you go to the users, there by default you can see 4 users. This is like we have already used, right? Let me go with the fresh database, security users. Okay, by default you can see 4 users: DBO, guest, information schema, sys. DBO will be enabled, remaining all 3 users will be disabled, right? So where we are going to use this DBO, if anyone is sysadmin, yesterday we discussed it, right? If Ankam is sysadmin, if Divya is sysadmin, again it don't create a separate user in the particular database. It will use DBO user. Okay, it will use DBO user so that this DBO user can help Ankam or Divya to get the things, okay, to pull the data, to write the data, to read the data. Okay, so that's why we are going to use, we don't use at any place, we don't use it. But if you are a sysadmin, SQL Server internally uses DBO user. It won't create a separate user for Ankam or Divya, whoever it is. If you are a sysadmin, SQL Server don't create a separate user in the database level. Why? Because sysadmin means he is able to access all the databases, right? Why again to create a separate user? So that's why, chalo, I'll give DBO user by default, so that sysadmins can utilize this DBO user. Okay, so that's why DBO will be there and it will be enabled. Clear?
Yes, sir. What about sys, sir, there?
Remaining and all, you can leave it. We don't use it. Those are all the extra users. Okay, so remaining we don't use it. That's why those users will be in disabled state. If you want, you can enable it and you can make use of it. You can map sys also. For your access, you can map sys also.
We thought sys for sysadmin, sir.
No, not for sysadmin. Okay, sysadmins and all will be used. They will use DBO only. Means you don't specify I have to use DBO or sys. By default, SQL Server internally will utilize DBO for sysadmins.
Sir,
Yes.
there are one question. Yeah, in this login folder, there are the two disables, double hash MS, and these logins are working for
These
and
logins are
anti
working for
authorities I system.
these logins are for certificates. Okay, certificates logins these are. So by default, when you install the SQL
Okay.
Server, you will get these logins. These related to the certificate logins. Anti-authority system,
Okay.
these are all service accounts. Okay, by default it will create a login for service accounts, that whatever virtual service accounts while installing you will give, right? Okay, while
Yes, yes,
installing
yes.
whatever
Yes.
service accounts are part of your SQL Server will create a login for them by default. Okay, so
Okay.
that's why
Sir,
these,
agar during okay,
yes please.
in installation time, there are the anti authority by
Correct.
default.
Mm,
Okay,
mm,
anti
mm,
service. If I'm customize the service account change,
mm, mm.
so then change account will be come in the login, or something else.
Actually, if you customized it, okay, you have to
Okay.
add user option will be there, right? At add current user, there is one more
Okay.
option called add button. If you remember,
Okay.
in the add
Yeah.
current user screen, there is one more button called add beside add current user. There
Yes.
you have
Yes.
to click,
Yes.
there you have to click and you have to add that service account. For customized service account, you have to add it manually. Okay, for virtual or
Okay.
default service account, SQL Server will itself create a logins automatically.
Okay.
Yeah,
No.
yeah.
సార్
Yes, yes, please.
ఒక ఆర్గనైజేషన్ లో సీక్వల్ అడ్మిన్ రోల్స్ ఎలా ఉంటాయి సార్?
This is our first class.
సార్ సార్
This is our first class. Okay, if possible, not first class, second or third class, what DBA will do in the organization regularly. Okay, so I'll tell you briefly. A DBA is responsible to install the SQL servers, to maintain the SQL servers. Okay, a DBA is responsible, a SQL DBA is responsible to take the backups, to maintain the backups, to restore the backups whenever needed. A DBA is responsible to give the permissions to the other users. DBA is responsible to give the permissions to the other users. A DBA is responsible for, okay, creating jobs, automation related things. Okay, automation related things. In case if something went wrong, a DBA is responsible to troubleshoot it. Okay, in your particular SQL server. A DBA is responsible for creating HA and DR options. HA, high availability, DR, disaster recovery. Okay, so we have 5 technologies in the HADR. One is log shipping, second one is mirroring, third one is replication, fourth one is clustering, fifth one is always on. So a DBA is responsible in configuring HA and DR options. A DBA is responsible in troubleshooting HA and DR options. A DBA is also responsible in tuning the SQL server. In case if your SQL server is not running properly, or it's not running as expected, or it is taking a lot of time to execute the queries, if the performance of the SQL server is not good, a DBA is responsible to tune the SQL server to give a better performance from the SQL server. Okay, and a DBA is responsible to run the scripts from the users. Developers will use, why? Because developers, they might have permissions, they might not have permissions. So all the developers can't execute the scripts. Okay, they will raise a request, they will raise a ticket, hey DBA, can you please execute these scripts? So they will give the scripts, we are the responsible one, we have to take the scripts from the developers and we have to execute it. These are the main roles and the day-to-day activities. The DBA is responsible to check the disk space and all. Okay, if any job is failed as a DBA, you have to troubleshoot it. These are the main roles and responsibilities for a SQL DBA and regular day-to-day activities also.
ఓకే సార్, థ్యాంక్ యూ.
Any questions, guys? Right, chalo. If no questions, let me jump into the another topic called roles. Okay, so roles. What is meant by a role? ROLE, role. Role.
Set of permissions and
Very good.
actions.
Duty.
Duties. Right, very good. Okay, so role means duty. Agree? Right? Fine. So simple definition is role is nothing but collection of permissions. In SQL Server, a role is nothing but collection of permissions, guys. Collection of permissions, you can call it as a role. Okay, so usually role. Say for example, if I asked you, okay, if I asked you, hey, can you please act as a teacher for the next 1 hour? What you are going to do, guys?
You're going to teach it.
Yes, you'll teach, right? So once you are in the teaching field, means if you are a teacher for the next 1 hour, what is the primary responsibility for you? You should teach, right? Teacher means don't think he will take the, of course, teacher also can take the attendance, right? Teacher can take the attendance, teacher can teach. Okay, like, so whatever roles are there for teacher, all the roles will be assigned to you. Agree? Agree? Whatever roles, whatever permissions are there, what a teacher will do, all things has to be done by yourself for the next 1 hour. That is what a role meaning, right? Right? If I asked you, hey, can you please act like a father for the next 1 hour? What father will do? What is his roles? Everything you have to be performed. In the same way, a role is nothing but a set of permissions. Okay, set of permissions. So if I added you into that particular role, you will get all the permissions, right? If I added you into the teachers group, you will become a teacher. Whatever teacher is going to be do, whatever teacher is going to be done, you are going to be do all those things. If I added you as a doctor role, you will get all the permissions as a doctor. Okay, whatever like doctor permission, whatever responsibilities will be there for doctor, you are the responsible for those particular roles and all. In the same way, if I added you into the lawyers group, you will become a lawyer. Whatever permissions are there for lawyers, whatever activities are there for lawyers, you have to fulfill those permissions and all. You have to complete those duties and all. Right? In the same way, in SQL Server, we have some roles. Role means collection of permissions. Simple definition is role is nothing but collection of permissions. Okay, role is nothing but collection of permissions. So we have two types of roles in the SQL Server. Fixed server roles and customized server roles. Again, guys, we have again server roles. Actually, here we have two types of roles, server roles and database roles. Database roles. Okay, so in the server role, we have fixed server roles, customized server roles. In the database roles, we have fixed database roles, customized database roles. Okay, fixed database roles, customized database roles. Sorry, customized DB roles. Okay, right? So like this, we have two types of roles. One is server role, second one is database role. In the server role, we have fixed server roles, customized server roles. In the database roles, we have fixed database roles, customized database roles. Okay, fixed means you will get along with the SQL server. When you install the SQL server, you will get along with the SQL server. Those are all fixed server roles. Customized means you can create. If you are not satisfied with this fixed, hey, these fixed server roles are not fulfilling my requirements. Chalo, let's create a customized role. Okay, so that is called customized server role. Server roles are database level of objects, whereas server roles are server level objects, whereas database roles are database level objects, guys. You cannot see database roles in the server level. You cannot see server roles in the database level. Okay, so where I can see the roles are, if you expand the security, there you can see server roles. If you expand the server roles, you can see these are the roles. Tell me, guys, what are these roles? Fixed server roles or customized server roles?
Fixed server roles,
Fixed,
sir.
sir. Fixed
Fixed.
roles.
Why? Because
Server role.
yes, if you get with the SQL server,
Set of
automatically
own
we haven't
permission.
created, right? We haven't created a single role. Almost you will get 8 plus 1. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4 plus 1, 2, 3, 4. 8. 8 plus 1 server roles will be there. Okay, these are fixed. I haven't created these roles. You got these roles with the SQL server installation. So that's why we'll call these roles as fixed server roles. Actually, there is a different meaning for fixed server roles. But as of now, fixed server roles you will get with the SQL server installation. No need to do anything from your side. Okay, customized roles. If these roles are not fulfilling, you can create your own roles. I'll show you how to create the customized server role. Okay, so in these 8 roles, forget about public role. Okay, public role, forget about it. In these 8 roles, each role will have different permissions, guys. Imagine this is like lawyer's role, this is doctor's role, this is teacher's role, this is businessman's role, like that. I'm just giving example, guys, just giving example. Don't explain like this lawyers, teachers and all in the interview. Just giving example. Each role will have its own set of permissions. Bulk admin will have its own set of permissions. DB creator will have its own set of permissions. Disk admin will have its own set of permissions. Process admin, security admin, server admin, setup admin, sysadmin. Finally, sysadmin. You know, right? Sysadmin will do all those things. Sysadmin will do all those things means the other role members cannot do all those things, right? Agree? Why I'm stressing sysadmin? Sysadmin can do all those things. Sysadmin will have all permissions, all privileges. Why I'm stressing? Sysadmin can do all things means other role members cannot do all the things. Agree? Other
Yes,
role
sir.
members
Yes,
does
sir.
not have all the permissions. Agree? Right? Chalo, sir, what permissions will have each role? What is there any query for that? Yes, we have a query. What permissions to see what permissions this bulk admin is having, to see what permissions this DB creator role is having. Okay. These are going to simplify our life, guys. Simply our work is going to be simplified with these server roles related to the permissions only. Okay. If I want some permissions, instead of giving individual permissions, I'll simply add, okay, Ankam to this role, so that whatever permissions are there, Ankam will get all the permissions automatically. Role means collection of permission, right? This role will have set of permissions. If I want to decide, I want to give same set of permissions to Ankam, instead of giving manually, I'll add Ankam to this role, so that Ankam will get all the permissions of this role only. He is limited to this role only. If I added Ankam to this DB creator role, whatever DB creator role is having permissions, what kind of permissions are there for DB creator, Ankam will get all the permissions. It's just simply going to save the time instead of giving individual permissions in case if Ankam don't want, instead of removing the permissions manually one by one, I'll simply add him into the role, or I'll simply remove him from the role. Which is going to save the time. Instead of giving individual permissions, what I'm going to do, I'll simply add Ankam to this role. Depends if his responsibilities, if his duties defines this role, if he needs these kind of permissions, what I'll do, simply I'll add Ankam to this role. Later, Ankam position is changed, then I'll remove Ankam from this role. It's very simple, guys, easy to maintain. Okay, agree? So each role will have its own permissions, guys. How to check, sir, what permissions this role is having? How to check? What is the query? Okay. Anyone, any idea? What is the query?
SP help role
underscore
member.
Is it
SP underscore
role
SP
permission.
underscore SRV
SRV role
role
permission.
SP help
permission?
role permission.
Okay. Role permission. See here, if you just add yes permissions, it will be converted into black color, which is wrong. Okay, so if you remove S, the color will be changed. It's a kind of a gray color. I don't know how many of you are able to see the change in the color, but
Yes,
if
sir.
you write like this, it is correct. Okay, if you are getting a black means it is not correct, it is wrong. Okay, so SPSRV role permission. What role permissions I want to check, will go one by one. What bulk admin is having, what kind of permissions are there for this role. Okay, let me drag and drop. You can execute all text. Now tell me, guys, what permissions are there for bulk admin?
Bulk
Add
insert
member.
and add member to bulk admin.
Yes.
Correct. Okay. So remember this permission. This is very important. He is having two permissions. One, two. Two records means two permissions. Okay. Two records means two permissions. A member of bulk admin. A member of bulk admin can do the bulk insert operations. Means I want to give bulk insert operations for a specific user. What I'm going to do, I'll simply create that login. I'll add him into this bulk admin login, bulk admin role, so that he will get these two permissions automatically. If I added Ankam to this role, Ankam can do two things only. One thing is he can execute bulk insert operations. Okay. Another thing is Ankam can add another person or another login to his role. Okay, Ankam can add another login to his role. If he becomes teacher, he can make another person as a teacher. If he is a doctor, he can make another person as a doctor. If he is a software engineer, he can make another person as a software engineer. If he is a bulk admin, he can add another login into the bulk admin role. Remember this permission. Every role by default, you can see this permission on the top. If Ankam is a bulk admin, he can add another login into the bulk admin role, guys. Only bulk admin role. Okay. Is it clear, guys? Role means collection of permissions. We have two types of roles, server roles and database roles. In the server roles, we have again fixed server roles, customized server roles. In the database roles, again, we have fixed database roles, customized database roles. Okay, we have 8 server roles, 8+1 server roles are there in the SQL server. Server roles are server level objects. 8+1 server roles are there. In that first server role is bulk admin. No need to remember, guys. See, bulk admin means basically with the help of the name itself, you can remember bulk means bulk inserts. There is only one word related to the bulk, that is going to be bulk inserts. So bulk insert means what? Bulk means what?
Bulk insertion.
Lot of
Huge, lot.
Huge data,
huge,
huge data,
huge,
sir.
Huge
huge
We are,
data you are going to
huge data.
insert. If you are trying to insert huge transactions, you can call that as a bulk insert. Who can do? 2 persons can do bulk inserts, guys. Can you tell me who are all can do bulk insert?
Sysadmin and bulk admin, sir.
Bulk admin.
Very good, guys. If I asked who can do these things, means by default sysadmin will do all the things. You can answer by default answer is yes, sysadmin. Okay, but sysadmin, of course, he can do bulk inserts, but I cannot give sysadmin to everyone, right? Sysadmin means he can misuse the permissions. Knowingly or unknowingly, he can delete some databases. We don't give all permissions. Whatever permissions they are asking, we don't give. Yesterday, I told you what is the process, guys. If I want to give any permissions to any login, what is the process?
Ask manager.
Very good.
Approval.
Approvals.
Approvals.
You know how developers are very intelligent. They are very, very, very intelligent. They will approve for something. They will ask for something. We'll simply see approved is there or not. Manager, what manager will do? Imagine Rosa is trying to access. Rosa is a developer. Rosa is trying to access one table. Rosa needs only read permissions. What Rosa will do? Chalo, for the next time again, who will raise the ticket? Chalo, I'll ask read, write, and execute permissions. Okay. Hey developers, hey DBA, can you please give me these permissions? Okay. So we'll ask, hey Rosa, we'll happy to help you, but we need a manager approval and a ticket for this. Okay. So what Rosa will do? Rosa will add, hey manager, I need read permissions on this database. Okay. So what manager will do? He will reply like approved. Okay, approved means what? Whether approved means Rosa is only able to read the data, or he approved for read, write, and execute. What is that? Okay, you have to get a clear instructions from your manager. You have to double check with the manager. Rosa asked read and write permissions. You simply said approved. Can I give read and write permissions to Rosa? You have to double check with managers. Otherwise, they will mention one database name. They will ask permissions on another database name. They will ask one permission. Okay, they will include lot of permissions. They will ask approval for one permission. They will include lot of permissions in the ticket. We'll simply see whether approved email is there or not. So don't think like that. Okay, you have to be very clear in giving the permissions. They can misuse the permissions. Okay, accidentally they can misuse the permissions, not wantedly, but accidentally they can do, right? So that's why you have to, again, they have to clearly mention in the email. Don't see only approved email is there or not. Approved for what? Approved for read, write, what permissions? You have to be clearly ask manager, or else if he's in a big position, if you cannot, okay, ask directly in the email, ping him. Rosa requested these permissions. Okay, so can I give these permissions to Rosa or not? Lot of things I have seen, guys. Lot of cases I have seen. Okay, developers sometimes they can cheat you. not wantedly, but they will think like, okay, in future again, who will ask, who will raise the tickets and all. They will ask permissions for different thing, and they will mention different things in the ticket. Of course, at the end of the day, we have to follow the ticket only. Why? Because everything will be audited, right? So finally, they will ask on what basis you gave the permissions. You will give on this ticket basis, I gave the permissions. In the ticket, if you have read write permissions, you have to give read write permissions. In the ticket, read write permissions are there, but Rosa got approval for only read. In that case, you have to double check with Rosa and her manager. Hey Rosa, you got approval for only read. I need read write permissions approval. Then you can give it. Otherwise, every time, always you should be in a safe position. You should be in a safe position. You have to play a safe game in the organization. At the end of the day, both your manager and developers will blame you only if something went wrong. Okay, guys. Chalo, let's reconnect. Please use the same meeting link to join, guys. It is showing 1 minute. Please use the same meeting link to join.
Yes, sir.